Welcome to Scoreflow. Few seasons made less sense from the league table alone than Tottenham's. Today, we revisit Tottenham's 24-25 campaign and the European nights that changed its meaning. The campaign opened with a 1-1 draw away to Leicester, Pedro Porro on the scoresheet before Vardy levelled. Back home, Tottenham swept Everton 4-0, Son Heung-min at the double, with Bissouma and Romero also on target. Momentum stalled at Newcastle. A 1-2 defeat with Dan Burns' own goal, the only Spurs strike against efforts from Barnes and Isak. In the North London derby, Spurs were edged 1-0 by Arsenal, despite the push for a reaction on home turf. A change of scene in the Carabao Cup brought a 2-1 comeback at Coventry, late goals from Spence and Johnson turning it after Thomas Asante had struck. Back to league business, Spurs beat Brentford 3-1 at home after conceding inside a minute through Solanke, Johnson and a late Maddison clincher. Europe under the lights delivered a composed 3-0 against Qarabağ, Johnson, Sarr and Solanke scoring after the visitors failed from the spot. From Europe to Old Trafford, Tottenham produced a statement 3-0, Johnson, Kulusevski and Solanke sealing it. Back in Europe, Spurs edged Ferencváros 2-1 away, Sarr opening up and Johnson's late strike proving decisive despite a very late reply. After that European high, the reset proved tricky as Brighton pinched a 3-2, Johnson and Maddison scoring before the hosts turned it after the break. West Ham felt the response as Spurs powered to a 4-1 home win, turning it through Kulusevski, Bissouma and Areola own goal and Son Heung-min. Europa League tempo returned with a tight 1-0 over AZ Alkmaar, Richarlison's penalty the difference. The come-down on the road saw a 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace, Mateta's first-half finish settling it at Selhurst Park. A place in the last 8 was booked with a 2-1 over Manchester City, Werner and Sarr striking to knock out elite opposition. Back in the league after City, Spurs beat Aston Villa 4-1, Solanke's brace added to by Johnson and a late Maddison finish. Away in Europe, a lively night ended in a 3-2 loss to Galatasaray, Osimhen's double decisive despite goals from Lancashire and Solanke. Switching back to league play, Spurs slipped 1-2 at home to Ipswich, Bentancur's strike not enough. What a response! Tottenham thumped Manchester City 4-0 away. Maddison at the double with Pedro Porro and a late Johnson goal completing it. European momentum checked as Roma snatched a 2-2 draw. Son's early penalty and Johnson's finish cancelled by Ndika and a late Hummels leveller. Back to domestic duty, it finished 1-1 with Fulham. Johnson's goal, his 10th of the season, answered by Carney. On the south coast, Tottenham were edged 1-0 by Bournemouth, Dean Huijsen with the game's only goal. An open contest with Chelsea swung away from Spurs in a 4-3 defeat. Solanke and Kulusevski struck early before Palmer's double and Fernandes turned it. At Ibrox, a hard-fought 1-1 with Rangers as Kulusevski cancelled Igamane's opener. Back in league action, Spurs cut loose at Southampton, a 5-0 win with Maddison at the double alongside Son Heung-min, Kulusevski and Sarr. A wild quarter-final at home ended 4-3 against Manchester United, Solanke's brace, Kulusevski's goal and a late Son strike sending Spurs to the semis. Days later, the league brought a bruising 6-3 collapse to Liverpool, despite strikes from Maddison, Kulusevski and Solanke as Diaz and Mohamed Salah both hit doubles. The search for a lift stalled at Nottingham Forest with a 1-0 defeat at the City ground, Elanga scoring. Back home, a 2-2 with Wolves featured Bentancur and Johnson, but a missed penalty and a late Strand Larsen equaliser cost the win. Newcastle nicked it 1-2 in North London, Solanke's early strike overturned by Gordon and Isak. In a high-stakes semi-final first leg, Spurs beat Liverpool 1-0 through a late Bergvall winner to take an edge into Anfield. The FA Cup brought a calmer assignment and a 3-0 win at Tamworth, an own goal followed by late strikes from Kulusevski and Johnson. Derby Day at the Emirates ended in a 2-1 defeat, Son Heung-min's opener undone by a Tottenham own goal off Solanke and a Trossard finish. At Goodison, Tottenham were edged 3-2 by Everton, Kulusevski and a late Richarlison goal not quite rescuing it after a Gray own goal had widened the gap. Europe steadied the pulse as Spurs beat Hoffenheim 3-2 away, Maddison striking early and Son Heung-min's brace proving enough despite a late scare. Back to league duties, Leicester overturned Richarlison's opener for a 2-1 win in North London, Vardy and El Khanous striking early in the second half. On the final night of the league stage, Spurs eased past Elfsborg 3-0, Scarlett, Ajayi and a late Moore goal wrapping it up. Following European juices, a controlled 2-0 at Brentford featured a Jan Alaert home goal and Sarr's late clincher. The semi-final second leg at Anfield proved brutal, a 4-0 defeat to Liverpool ending the cup run. FA Cup hopes faded at Villa Park with a 2-1 defeat to Aston Villa, Tell's late reply coming after goals from Ramsey and Rodgers. Back to league business, Tottenham edged Manchester United 1-0 at home, Maddison hitting double figures for the campaign. On the road at Ipswich, Spurs stayed sharp in a 4-1 win, Johnson netting twice, with Spence and Kulusevski adding late goals. Hoping to build on that, Spurs were clipped 1-0 by Manchester City, Haaland deciding it early. The Europa League knockouts opened with a 1-0 setback at AZ Alkmaar, decided by a Bergvall own goal. Domestic rhythm returned with a 2-2 against Bournemouth, Sarr and a late Son Heung-min penalty salvaging a point. Back at home in the second leg, Spurs turned the tie with a 3-1 win over AZ Alkmaar as Odegaard struck twice and Maddison the other to reach the quarter-finals. The European high gave way to a flat 2-0 defeat at Fulham, settled late by Rodrigo Muniz and Sessegnon. Stamford Bridge offered no relief, Spurs beaten 1-0 by Chelsea through an Enzo Fernandez strike. Home comforts restored momentum as Southampton were beaten 3-1, Johnson's brace and a late Tell penalty doing the damage. Quarter-final first-leg tension yielded a 1-1 with Eintracht Frankfurt, Pedro Porro replying after an early Ekitike strike. Back in league play at Molineux, Spurs lost 4-2, a Spence own goal compounding early damage despite second-half replies from Tell and Richarlison. In the second leg in Frankfurt, Solanke's first-half penalty delivered a 1-0 win and a place in the semi-final. Any European bounce didn't carry over, a 2-1 home loss to Nottingham Forest despite Richarlison's late goal, with safety secured. The hoped-for response at Anfield unravelled into a 5-1 defeat. Solanke's early opener swamped as Liverpool ran away with it, and a Tottenham own goal compounded the damage. A European semi-final on home soil brought a commanding 3-1 over Bodo Glimt, with Johnson, Maddison and a Solanke penalty setting the platform. At the London Stadium, a 1-1 with West Ham saw Odegaard's early strike answered by Bowen. In the return leg away, Spurs won 2-0 through Solanke and Pedro Porro to book a place in the final, Solanke's Europa tally reaching 5. the league restart bit hard as Crystal Palace won 2-0 in North London, Eze striking twice just either side of half-time. Villa Park offered no upturn. Tottenham beaten 2-0 by Aston Villa with second-half goals from Konza and Kamara. At San Mamés, Tottenham lifted the Europa League with a 1-0 win over Manchester United, Johnson striking before the break. The season closed on a sobering 4-1 home defeat to Brighton. Solanke's penalty outweighed as Hinchelwood scored twice and late goals deepened the damage. From the swagger of a 3-0 at Old Trafford and that 4-0 at the Etihad to a Carabao Cup semi-final that flipped from a 1-0 edge to a 4-0 elapse at Anfield, Tottenham's year revealed a split personality, league form grinding all the way down to 17th with bruises like the 5-1 at Anfield. And yet in Europe the story sharpened. They overturned AZ at home, edged Frankfurt, controlled Bodo Glimt, and at San Mamés claimed the UEFA Europa League with a 1-0 over Manchester United through Johnson on the night, and with Johnson finishing as top scorer with 18. Thanks for watching Scoreflow. Please like, share and subscribe.